They think silence means weakness, that if you don't fight back, you're scared. If you don't speak up, you're submissive. If you walk away, you've lost. But here's the cold truth. Sometimes, staying quiet is the most dangerous move in the room, because it means you're not reacting, you're calculating. You're not here to be understood. You're here to observe, to decide, to respond on your terms, not theirs. Ever felt that urge to speak, to explain, to fight, to defend? But something inside you whispered, "Not now." That's not fear, that's power, that's self-control. That's the voice of someone who refuses to be manipulated by emotion. Stay with me, because in this video, you'll learn the 10 situations where keeping your mouth shut isn't just smart, it's strategic. When silence isn't silence, it's strength, it's statement, it's signal. And if you master these 10 moments, you won't just win arguments, you'll win respect. This isn't a video about being passive. It's not about biting your tongue forever or letting people walk all over you. It's about something far deeper. The wisdom of knowing when to speak and when to let silence do the talking for you. Because not every battle deserves your energy, not every insult deserves a reply, and not every conversation is actually a place you should place your voice. Sometimes the most commanding presence in a room full of noise is the one who says nothing, but not out of fear, out of restraint, out of strategy, out of knowing that your peace is too expensive to spend on people who trade in chaos. In this video, we'll walk through 10 specific situations where silence isn't weakness, it's your shield. Your boundary, your quiet power, from betrayal to gossip, to unnecessary arguments, to emotional traps disguised as helpful conversations. You'll see exactly how to act without reacting, exactly when to speak, and when to let them feel the absence of your reply. And if you stay till the end, I'll share the one stoic mindset shift that will keep you calm, clear, and centered, even when your emotions are begging you to respond. Let's begin. Meet Elias. He used to think that the more he explained, the more they'd understand. That if he just found the right words, they'd finally see his side, respect his boundaries, stop crossing lines. He never gave permission for them to cross. So he talked a lot. He tried to reason with people who had no intention of listening. He tried to defend himself in rooms that were never safe. And every time he opened his mouth, he lost a piece of himself to people who didn't deserve it. Until one day, he said nothing. Not out of defeat, but out of decision. No reply to the provocation. No follow-up to the betrayal. No defense to the lie. Just stillness. And the moment he chose silence, something shifted. They panicked, they reached, they filled the silence with their own noise. But Elias, he didn't need to speak, because for the first time, he wasn't trying to survive with words. He was leading with presence. And just like Elias, you don't owe anyone a verbal receipt for your growth. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all. Situation number 1, when they're trying to trigger you. They say it with a smirk. A small jab, a comment designed to look casual, but you feel it right under your skin. You want to reply, to clap back, to shut them down with logic or sarcasm or facts. But here's the truth. If they can provoke you, they control you. Doesn't matter how right you are. Doesn't matter how sharp your words sound. If they can steer your emotions with one sentence, one glance, one passive-aggressive joke, they win, because now you're in their game, a game where your peace depends on their behavior. And that's not power. That's permission. The Stoics had a rule. Never respond to those who seek a reaction, only to those who seek truth. Here's your shift. Stop taking the bait. Start seeing the trap. Try this. Next time they push, don't flinch, don't frown. Don't feed it, just pause. Hold your face like stone, not cold, just neutral, and say nothing. Because here's the thing, you don't have to protect yourself from a fire you refuse to step into. Let them burn their own energy, let them spiral. Let them wonder why their tactics don't work on you anymore. That silence, it doesn't mean you're scared. It means you see the game, and you've outgrown it. Situation number 2, when you're angry and want to clear things up. You just found out. They lied. They crossed a line. They said something behind your back you never expected, and your body goes into fight mode. Your fingers itch to type. Your mind races with comebacks. You pace the room, thinking maybe, just maybe, if you explain how wrong they are, they'll finally get it. But here's the trap. Anger wants to feel powerful, even if it costs you your peace. And the worst time to speak is when you're trying to defend your emotions instead of expressing your truth. Because in that moment, you don't want clarity. You want control. You want them to hurt like you hurt. And that's not conversation, that's emotional warfare. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who caused the injury." Which means you don't win by matching their low. You win by refusing to leave your center. Here's your shift. Stop clearing things up when you're still on fire. Start pausing until your words serve your growth, not your ego. Try this. When rage hits, don't react, don't send, don't explain. Instead, write everything in a note, let it sit, sleep on it, then read it the next day. If it still needs to be said, say it with grace, not heat. And if not, delete it, not because they were right, but because you deserve better than regret. Let silence be your reset, let stillness be your strength. Some fire put out faster when you refuse to add air. Situation number 3, when you know they won't listen anyway. You've explained it, once, twice, 10 times, you've been calm. You've been clear. You've even tried to see it from their side. But no matter what you say, it feels like talking to a wall. They interrupt. They twist your words. They wait to reply, not to understand. And you leave those conversations more drained than when you walked in. Because here's the truth. Some people aren't interested in clarity. They're invested in being right. And if you keep offering yourself up thinking, maybe this time they'll hear me, all you do is sacrifice your energy to feed their ego. The Stoics warned against this. Epictetus said, "Do not explain yourself to those who are unwilling to learn." Here's your shift. Stop over-communicating to people who've proven they're not here to understand. Start protecting your breath for places where it matters. Try this. Before you engage again, ask, does this person seek truth or just a chance to win? If it's the second, say nothing. Don't fight. Don't explain. Don't try one last time, because silence in that moment isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It says, I've said enough, and I respect myself to stop speaking in rooms that drain me. Let them talk over you. Let them misjudge you. You're too busy building a life that won't need their permission to be respected.
Situation for 4. When you're about to expose too much of yourself, it starts simple. They ask, how are you really doing? You pause, and you consider telling them everything. The pain, the loss, the confusion you hide so well behind your calm face.
You want to feel seen, understood, relieved. But here's what you forget. Not every "are you okay" comes from a place of care. Sometimes people ask just to feed their curiosity, not your healing. And once it's out there, you can't take it back. The Stoics had a sacred rule. Keep your center private. Not to be mysterious, but to be safe. Because your story isn't for everyone, and your emotions, they are sacred space. Here's your shift. Stop spilling pieces of your soul to anyone who seems interested. Start filtering, not from fear, but from self-respect. Try this. Before you open up, ask, has this person earned access to the most fragile parts of me? If the answer is no, say less. Let them wonder, let them assume, because mystery isn't manipulation, it's protection. It's the discipline to carry your story without letting the wrong hands rewrite it. And when you do choose to open up, let it be with someone who holds your silence as respectfully as they hold your truth. Not every chapter of you belongs in their book. Some pages you keep for yourself, sacred, unspoken, whole. Situation number 5. When you're tempted to comment on someone else's mess. You see it unraveling, the bad decision, the toxic relationship, the chaos they keep choosing over and over again. And part of you wants to say something, to warn them, to guide them, to help them avoid the fall you can already see coming. But here's the thing. Uninvited advice is often received as judgment, not support. And even if you mean well, even if you're words are true, you can't force someone to receive wisdom they haven't asked for. The Stoics practiced restraint, not because they didn't care, but because they respected the timing of others' growth. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Here's your shift. Stop inserting yourself into storms that aren't yours to calm. Start mastering the art of compassionate silence. Try this. Next time you feel the urge to correct them, ask, am I speaking for their growth or my own need to be right? If it's the latter, breathe. Say nothing. Let them learn through experience. Let them ask when they're ready. Let them come back when their pride is small enough to receive, because here's the truth. The wisest person in the room isn't always the one talking. It's the one who knows when to hold their tongue. Let your peace speak louder than your opinions. Let your presence be the message. And remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can say is nothing at all. Situation 6. When you're begging to be understood. You explain again and again. You replay the conversation in your head, thinking if you just said it better, louder, softer, smarter, maybe they would have understood, but they didn't, they don't, and maybe they never will. And that's where the ache begins, because it's not just about being misunderstood, it's about feeling unseen, unheard, unvalued. But here's what the Stoics teach. Your peace cannot depend on someone else's perception. People don't hear you at the level of your truth. They hear you at the level of their conditioning, their fear, their ego. And sometimes, no matter how pure your heart is, it won't translate. Not because you failed, but because they're not ready to understand. Here's your shift. Stop explaining to be understood. Start expressing to stay aligned with your truth, whether they get it or not. Try this. Next time you feel the pull to explain one more time, pause and say to yourself, my clarity doesn't require their agreement. Then let go, because begging to be understood is like handing your peace to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. Let them misread you. Let them assume. You stay rooted, centered, whole. You weren't born to be explained. You were born to be lived. And the ones meant to understand, they won't need an explanation. They'll feel it. In your calm, in your walk, in your quiet, unshakable truth. Situation number 7. When they're just trying to guilt you. It starts subtle, a sigh, Pause, a comment like, "Oh, I guess you're too busy now." Or, "Wow, that's not what I expected from you." You haven't hurt them. You've just made a choice, chosen your peace, your space, your time. But somehow, you're the villain. And now you feel it. The guilt, that creeping voice saying, "Maybe I should just explain. Maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe they're right." But pause, because guilt isn't always your conscience. Sometimes it's just the aftertaste of being manipulated for putting yourself first. The Stoics didn't run from guilt. They examined it. They asked, "Is this guilt coming from my own values or from someone else's expectations?" Because not all guilt is honest. Some is weaponized, used to keep you small, predictable, easy to control. Here's your shift. Stop apologizing for living a life that honors your truth. Start letting silence be the wall that protects you from emotional intrusion. Try this. Next time someone lays the guilt on thick, don't defend, don't explain, don't match their tone, just breathe. Tilt your head slightly, offer a kind, simple nod, and say nothing. Because your refusal to react says more than any justification ever could. It says, "I see the game, and I don't play guilt chess." Let them sit with their discomfort. Let them wonder. Because when you stop explaining your boundaries, you finally start enforcing them. And that moment, that's when the guilt loses its grip. Because you're no longer negotiating with it. You're outgrowing it. And what replaces guilt? Grace, grounding power, the quiet kind, the kind that needs no explanation, only presence. Situation 8, when they're gossiping and you're tempted to join. It starts innocently, a raised eyebrow, a whispered, "Did you hear?" a shared smirk over someone else's misstep. And suddenly, you're in the circle, the safe zone of shared judgment, the unspoken agreement. As long as we're talking about them, we don't have to look at ourselves. But here's the truth. Gossip isn't just about them, it's a reflection of you. Every time you speak on someone else's life without their presence, you reveal more about your character than theirs. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus warned, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Which means let them think you're boring. Let them think you're out of the loop. Let them think you have nothing to add, because your silence isn't ignorance, it's integrity. Here's your shift. Stop contributing to conversations that cost you your character. Start choosing silence as a statement of self-respect. Try this. Next time gossip starts, don't engage, don't nod, don't even smirk. Just excuse yourself, or change the subject, or simply say nothing. Because when you refuse to participate, you set a boundary, not just for others, but for yourself. You declare, "My energy isn't a dumpster for other people's trash." And in that moment, you rise above the noise, above the drama, above the need to belong to something beneath you. Remember, what you say about others says everything about you. Choose silence, choose dignity, choose to be the person who speaks only when it elevates and when in doubt. Let your silence be louder than their noise. Situation number 9, when you're about to make a promise you can't keep. They ask, it's urgent, they need help, support, a yes that will make them feel secure, and your reflex is to give it. Of course, I'll take care of it, I promise. Not because you're certain, but because you don't want to disappoint, because silence feels awkward, because you'd rather overcommit than be seen as unreliable. But here's the truth. A promise made from guilt or rush isn't kindness. It's a future resentment waiting to happen. The Stoics valued honesty over appearance. They didn't say yes to please. They said yes to what they could uphold. Marcus Aurelius reminded, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not
say it."
Here's your shift. Stop saying yes just to avoid discomfort. Start saying less and until your words are backed by capacity and clarity. Try this. When you feel pressure to promise, pause, breathe, and say, "Let me sit with this." Or, "I'll get back to you when I know for sure." That pause, it's not rejection, it's respect for your time, for their trust, for the space between intention and action. Because your word should be a contract, not a coupon. And when you do speak, let it land like stone, weighty, measured, kept. Make fewer promises, break none, and when you're unsure, let silence protect your integrity. Situation, the last 10, when you're ready to say something you'll regret. Your hands clench, your throat tightens, your mind sharpens into a blade, lined with the perfect words to cut back. You want to go there? Fine. I'm done being nice. Here's what I really think of you, and just before it spills out, your chest swells with temporary power, like letting it out will finally free you. But here's the truth. Words spoken in anger may feel honest, but they're rarely wise. They don't come from your depth. They come from your wound and wounds. Don't speak, they bleed. The Stoics knew. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue. Because your mouth can destroy more in 5 seconds than your heart can rebuild in 5 years. Here's your shift. Stop worshipping the impulse to get it off your chest. Start honoring the space between the feeling and the expression. Try this. When you're about to explode, excuse yourself. Step outside. Say nothing. Breathe like your dignity depends on it. Because it does. Let the storm pass without turning it into a flood. Because the words that truly matter will still be there tomorrow. But the ones you release in rage, they'll burn bridges you weren't ready to cross. And once they're out, no apology, no "I didn't mean it" can put them back in your mouth. So choose silence, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to pause when your ego screams go. Because in that pause, you keep your self-respect, your calm, your relationships, and most importantly, you keep yourself. Not every silence is weakness. Sometimes it's wisdom, sometimes it's strength, sometimes it's the only way to protect your peace in a world that profits off reaction. Each of these 10 situations isn't just a chance to hold your tongue. It's a doorway to power, to presence, to poise, to mastering the one thing you'll always carry, your response. So ask yourself, which moment hit you the hardest? Which silence will you start practicing today? Drop it in the comments. Which of these 10 silences do you need most right now? Let it be a signal that you're not just hearing Stoicism, you're living it. One quiet, powerful choice at a time.